You're looking very fluffy this morning.
Biggest IPO here.
There must be some negatives.
People are investing into bankrupt companies.
In last week's episode, EXANTE expert Ainars Velicevskis gave us a brief overview of the market for IPOs. But what has happened over the last week? I spoke to him this morning to find out more.
Good morning, Ainars. Oh, Ainars, what's wrong with you? You're looking very fluffy this morning. 1, 2, 3.
Hi, Simona. Sorry about that.
Good morning, Ainars. What happened to you there?
Good morning.
I was wondering where you'd got to.
This is my pet, actually, Mille. Oh, come here. So yeah. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you? Mille looks great. It's nice that you can take your pet to work, I guess.
Well, currently there are no restrictions to taking your pets to work or most of the public places, so it's pretty fine to go around with it.
That's great. So last week we talked about IPOs and you gave us a really brief introduction, but you said that you would elaborate on that this week. Can you please give us some more information? What's happening with the IPO market?
Sure. One of the hottest topics right now is IPOs. They are back in full swing after the biggest week of public listings year to date in this COVID era. Warner Music last week raised 1.9 billion, making it the biggest IPO of the year. Zoominfo, a cloud-based platform for sales and marketing, raised almost 1 billion. Basically, their shares soared over 60% higher on the first day of the trading. Shift4 Payments processes payments for over 200,000 businesses. Shares soared also 45% on Friday. For the first time since June 2018, all of 8 IPOs raised more than originally expected, either by pricing above the range or upsizing their offerings. Applied Molecular Transport opened 85% to IPO price, DADA 14, Legend Biotech 60, Pliant Therapeutics 56. This is the IPOs are really crazy right now.
Gosh, that does sound like a hot topic. But why? What's going on? Why suddenly this massive surge in IPOs?
Well, COVID brought people being cautious on investing in uncertainty into the markets. As uncertainty is leaving, people are looking where to invest. Most of the new companies that are filing for the IPOs have either cutting-edge technology or some interesting business that will be a driver for the future. Cloud computing, online, well, basically everything that you can do remotely. So this is why they are driving up like crazy.
That's great to hear. But what about, though, there must be some negatives, right? It can't be all positive. What else is going on in the markets? Are there any red flags we should be looking out for?
One of the craziest things that is happening right now, people are investing into bankrupt companies. Well, just to give you an example, while a handful of companies maintain some level of equity for the investors, most bankrupt stocks go to zero. Auto, airline, and other stocks that have gone through bankruptcies in the past and still hold equity today. For example, General Motors filed for bankruptcy in 2009. Today, they have 42 billion in market cap. All GM shares were delisted, and in March 2011, shareholders received no distribution or payment at all. Later on, it was a new stock, basically. The latest bubble in the bankrupt stocks is much more surprising, actually, the recent bubbles in alternative energy, cannabis, and Bitcoin. This is the craziest thing that I have seen since the internet bubble, and it was really a long time ago. Just on Monday alone, stocks for bankrupt or near bankrupt companies, Chesapeake, Hertz, Extraction Oil and Gas, Wedding Petroleum, Valaris, even bankrupt JCPenney, they all either got up to doubling or more than double their stock value. Each of these stocks is more than just a bad investment. They will all end up completely worthless. Actually, it saddens me to to say that the investors are gonna be losing money. And I suspect that these are the losses that the folks can't afford during these tough times.
Like you say, that's unbelievable. And I guess what we're saying here is that investors need to do their research and be cautious.
Actually, yeah, investors should understand that short-term traders and algorithms are likely driving much of the bankruptcy bubble, and the short covering also will be a major contributing factor to this. But at the end of the day, most of them will go to the zero. This is just for short term, and if you go into this gambling, you have to get out really fast.
That's incredible. Thank you for that warning, Ainars. Hopefully, investors will find that very useful. But what about let's bring things back to the UK and the COVID era. We talk about COVID a lot. I hear that today is quite a significant day in the UK in terms of coal and the usage of coal as energy.
Actually, yeah, Britain today will reach 2 months in a row without using electricity for coal-powered power stations for the first time since powering the world's first coal-fueled power plant back in the 1880s. Now Britain is on a way to close all plants by 2024. Europe and US are going the same path, but not Asia. Asia's share in total global demand for the coal will expand from 77% to around 81% by 2030.
Sounds great in terms of the UK moving forward towards green energy, but hopefully China will follow suit in the future because sustainable is the way. And finally, Ainars, we always end on kind of potential investments, giving investors ideas for the future. Yeah. What have you been seeing? Is there anything that's maybe jumping out at you that's maybe a bit different that investors could be thinking about?
Well, for the things where to invest in the future, we have to understand that there is a behavioral change that is happening at the moment, and a great digital adoption across all of the industries. Productivity tools, healthcare, entertainment, education, cybersecurity, anything that has to do with touchless, humanless technology. Remote working will grow exponentially in functionality and importance, such as Slack, Clockify, Zocri, and Pocket. It will also include more cloud services. Also, a demand for telemedicine, such as Teladoc, Everlywell, Nerds are soaring. Also, current clinics and hospitals are being forced to implement telemedicine at a faster rate. Not to mention Apple, Google, Microsoft, Nvidia, which are currently really well recognized and have a really big market cap, will still continue to evolve and getting bigger. With 37% of people who can work outside the office, home offices will explode. So anything that has to do with furniture, computers, telecommunications, it will all explode.
But Ainars, aren't these companies currently overpriced? That would be my only concern.
They can be pretty much in the price range that they are currently in the way of the development, yes. But if we're looking in a perspective of 1 year, 2 years, and over, these will be driving and growing bigger and bigger. So if you're looking for a short-term investment, then probably this is not your thing, but for longer term, this is your thing. Lastly, but the pet ownership will continue to rise. Mille? Up. When you're social distancing, you always need to have somebody to talk with, to be in real life contact. And the closest thing is to you are your pets. So this is why we're seeing a surge in Chewy Incorporated stock. People are ordering pet food online, but because when you love your pet, you just won't buy everything on Amazon. You want to consult with somebody, and Chewy does that. And their stocks have soared 100% in just the last 1.5 months. So
That's incredible. I'm going to definitely be checking Chewy out because, as you say, I think that they always say pets and animals you can never go wrong with. But that's interesting. Oh, well, I'm really glad that you've got Mille there for some company, Ainars. But thank you so much today for speaking to me and for this update. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day with Mille. Maybe you need to take her for a walk.
Sure I will.
Next week.
All right, Simona. It was a pleasure to speak to you. Tell me next week how did it go with the ordering from Chewy?
I will do. Thank you very much. Have a great week, and I'll speak to you soon, Ainars.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
The IPO market may have gone crazy this week, but it seems that consumers know exactly where their priorities lie. And that's with their dogs, of course. I'm off to take mine for a walk. Oh, and I may check out Chewy while I'm at it. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week.